This is FYI, a public affairs program of Strong Tower Christian Media on 93.7 The Light and Hope 100.7.
And hi, I'm JT Burcham, honored to talk with interesting people about fascinating projects around Ohio. And today, talking with Dr. Danny Huerta from Focus on the Family. Dr. Danny is heads up parents, grandparents. This is your show. We're going to learn about parenting with Dr. Danny. How are you doing today, sir? Welcome.
Doing well. Thank you, JT, for having me on your show. Excited to tackle some topics with you.
Such an honor.
Yes.
I always look forward to when folks from Focus on the Family, you guys are always great communicators, and it's always a great opportunity to talk to you. But today, I've been looking forward to this for a few days because
not years, JT.
Not years. It's too late.
Okay.
My kids are grown, and but my daughter-in-law has a military deployment, which means I get to be hands-on with some grandkids, and so I love the chance to talk about parenting a little bit. I even took your assessment, which we'll talk about here a little bit. You've got a great tool. Let's start with that. You've developed a great tool for folks.
Yeah, it was part of my dissertation. Well, it was my dissertation, JT. It was the 7 traits of effective parenting. And many years back, I had thought about how can parents be successful at what they're doing. I am a therapist as well and have worked with families for over 20 years. And I was thinking about a template that a parent can work off of to just have a starting place. And a lot of research talks about high levels of warmth and sensitivity and having boundaries and demandingness. And out of that, you get some type of effectiveness in parenting. And so these are the 7 traits that really bring those 2 at high levels. And the first one is adaptability. And as many parents would know, you have to adapt to many scenarios and situations. So I'll start with a teaser there. But the tool itself is an assessment where a parent or a grandparent can see how they're doing on these 7 traits. And if they're a strength, it's not a measurement of perfection. It's a measurement of how you show up with these particular 7 traits to each relationship that you have with each child. So you may take it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, depending on how many kids or grandkids you have, because you show up differently to each one. That's that adaptability, different personalities, different scenarios. So it gives you feedback on that. And you have 2 that are going to be a complete strength for you. They'll be rated the highest, and you'll be able to find out ways that you can bring those strengths in a very practical way in your relationships with each of the kids. And then you'll have 2 that are opportunities for growth. And then the assessment gives you some practical ways to grow in that. Then you get emails once a week that gives you insights into how you can continue to grow, but other resources and other ideas. And it's really about giving you practical tools, and then you take it from there as a parent or grandparent, because you're the one that knows each child the best, and you know your environment and your personality and what you can follow through on. We just want to give you plenty of tools to work with, but you begin with this assessment.
Yeah. And by the way, no charge, free.
Right.
From what I can tell, I took it.
Correct. Yes.
I didn't have to put a credit card number in.
No, it's free of charge. All you do is you give us your email. That's what it costs you. And that just helps us know you a little bit better and to send you information that is going to be helpful for you in your parenting. It's not to market to you. Of course, we'll ask for donation along the way because it's a ministry. But beyond that, we want to give you as much as we can along the way. And you can sign up for age and stage content of each of the ages of your kids, and a weekly parenting tips e-newsletter as well. And those are all free. We want to give as much away as we can, and that's from the generous donations from other parents and other people that have found our tools useful. And so you're right, it's free. We want to be able to do that for you.
Yeah, and you know what? There are folks across the Miami Valley of Ohio who are always pursuing being better parents. So I think this is a great resource. So
excellent.
Now, I took the assessment, and I appreciate you very much not beating me up terribly. You give me a couple strengths, and that's so nice. So everyone is going to be successful at this, you know.
That's right.
However,
you have at least 2. Yeah.
However, I do have some growth areas.
Yes.
So I think they might be pretty typical, though. I'm a grandparent,
Okay.
and boundaries is one of those.
That's the most common one for parents, actually. Yeah.
No kidding.
The opportunity for growth. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as a grandparent, I found it really easy to say, "Oh yeah, I'll let the parents take care of that." But you know what? Boundaries are important. If it's a growth area, what kind of advice do you give me? Where do you point me? Give me some practical steps here.
Well, the boundaries and limits, a lot of people assume in parenting it's all about boundaries on a child, but it begins on boundaries on yourself as well. Like, how can I manage the no's and the yeses for me? And many times we're either people pleasers or we are stress avoiders. And so we have a hard time putting boundaries on ourselves, our time, our use of technology, things like that. So first you figure out.
Did you say conflict avoiders? That would be
conflict avoiders. That's right.
Sorry,
yeah, that's good. It's good, JT. That's true. And we want our kids, a lot of times there's this idea, this belief system that we need to make our kids happy. Otherwise, we're doing something wrong if they're unhappy. And that's where our boundaries get a little shaky because the emotional world gets pulled in a certain direction. What you want to do is figure out what is healthy for my relationship with my child, what's healthy for me and the boundaries I'm placing on my life. Am I exercising? Am I sleeping well? Am I saying yes and no to the right things? And then out of that, am I modeling and then teaching boundaries for my child on what they need to say yes and no to? And then when I say my no, am I consistent with my no? And I'll tell you this, with my daughter, we had, as she turned 17, 18, on the clothing side, I needed to be very clear as to the why and the dresses. It wasn't because she was trying to dress wrong or promiscuous. It's just there's so many clothing choices that are right on the edge, on the gray area side of what would be a modest dress. And so she would say, so can I wear this? Can I wear that? And that was an interesting one where I needed to be very consistent across the board and have boundaries that are consistent between me and my wife. And that's the other tricky part. Two parents taking the assessment. If you both have issues with boundaries and limits, it can make it shaky for the child to understand what can I do, what can I not do. And if it's not clear, then they start to create their own, and then it can create conflict because you go, hey, I said no, but they said, well, did you really say no? Because then you said kind of yes here. And so that boundaries and limits, what you need to do is be clear, be consistent, and begin with the modeling in your own life. What are you saying yes and no to? That's where you start. And then realize you're not here to make your child happy. They can be happy along the way while you're leading them towards a healthy lifestyle and also developing a solid relationship between you and your child. And that includes life-giving words that sometimes are corrective. And you can find more instruction on that in Proverbs 15, where it says that we gain wisdom with constructive feedback in our lives. How open are you to constructive feedback? And that's a big question for you as a parent.
Yeah, wonderful words. Now, you mentioned something. One of my other questions was going to be, my grandkids are young. How does this work with teens and tweens? I mean, you kind of have to gather their information a little bit too. Is there an assessment that they take also?
Well, they have in the assessment itself, at the end, you have a parenting check-in where the teens are able to give you feedback. Okay. Now, we don't have anything with kids where it shows if they're growing in these, from your modeling. The only thing so the next phase of this assessment, JT, you kind of pulled open the curtain a little bit. Next phase is whether they're contributors or consumers. And we ask those questions at the end, but in the results, you don't see much of that because that part is not yet built through the IT side. That'll be the next phase where you'll get to see, is your child more of a consumer or a contributor? And in the research, we found that if a parent works on these 7 traits, you're most likely going to raise a child that has an identity as a contributor in God's kingdom, where they genuinely love other people. Their identity is not dependent on whether or not they're gaining love and affirmation from people. They are loving out of that identity they already have. And consumers may show kindness and love and all kinds of neat behaviors, but it's out of a transactional approach where they're wanting something in return, and we don't want to raise those kinds of kids, because that leaves them empty and lonely and really anxious. And so that's the next part of this assessment. It'll give you results on that on each of your children. In the meantime, you do have at the end of the results a parenting check-in where each child gives you their point of view on how they're seeing those 7 traits in you, and it leads to great discussion between you and that child.
Yeah, interesting. Wonderful. If you've just tuned in, real quick, Dr. Danny, how do folks get the assessment? Where do they go? I believe focusonthefamily.com/7 traits, I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest one, I'd say for a lot of parents all the time, just go to focusonparenting.com. That's easy to remember. Focusonparenting.com. The slider at the top, it says you want to, take it to the next level or whatever. It shows a guy holding a basketball. It's you just click on that and boom, you're right there. And then now you can put a pin or whatever bookmark on that page, because we have tons of articles and videos, agent stage. You can look at all the resources through focusonparenting.com, and the assessment's right at the top.
So many places you go on, TikTok or Instagram, they promise a lot of great information, and you have to wait and scroll down through, and then there's a cost, and then there's that. What a wonderful resource you're offering. It really is. It's a really wonderful resource. Free, friendly, helpful, all kinds of good information there. And I'm the grandparent. So.
That's great. And JT, we do want grandparents to take this and to think about, especially if they're raising grandkids, this is a great place to go. And then do sign up for that agent stage treatment. What happens is you give us your name and the names of each of the kids and then their birth months. And we'll send you new content every year at the birth month of each of those children to help you on what to expect, what to build, how to grow, including just the environment in the home. And we give you some ideas to work with as you shape it the way you need to for your home, for your relationships that you are stepping into. And our goal is to bring you trustworthy, biblically based, research based, and as much as we can, evidence based content for you as a parent that you can trust. And the key word that you're building in your home is trust. And we want to build that with you so that you can build trust in your home, because that's a foundation for love. It's a foundation for communication. It's a foundation for growth. And we know that in Genesis 3, trust went up for grabs with our Heavenly Father, and we know what that creates. And we see that momentum in families. When trust gets wobbly, things get off center. And so the 7 traits is about building that trustworthy relationship with your child and how you show up to that invitation of being mom or dad. And then the momentums you create from there out of these 7 traits. And if you're creating steadfastness in your home in a culture that is really shaky.
And that's what we as parents want. So thank you for helping us fill that gap. We appreciate it. Hey, before I lose you, we've got just a few seconds left. I understand you're coming to Ohio in April.
I am.
What's going on?
Yeah, so it's the Great Homeschool Convention. That's April 4th through the 6th. I think there will be close to 8,000 there. So join me there. I'll be doing 4 featured speaker workshops there, and we will be doing some live podcast recordings on my new podcast with Rebecca St. James, Practice Makes Parent. And yeah, excited to be in Ohio. Love Cincinnati and love visiting around there and spending a few days there. So hopefully I'll see you there. Very cool.
Dr. Danny Huerta, thank you so much for your time today. And thanks for helping make us better parents. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, JT.
This is FYI, a public affairs program of Strong Tower Christian Media on 93.7 The Light and Hope 100.7.